Okay. All right.
Oh, there you are.
All right, Chris.
What's up, Dwayne?
Yes,
How are
sir.
you? Good to see
How
you.
you doing, Chris? Nice to meet you, man.
You as well. So,
yeah.
where are you located?
I'm located in Denver, Colorado. Let me get some light. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Denver, Colorado.
Very nice. And
you?
I'm in Milwaukee. I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I came from Chicago.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hop, skip, and a jump. Not too far away.
Yeah.
So, what are you still doing jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
How long have you been training for?
Going on 9 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And what year did you have your stroke, Dwayne?
It was last May.
So May of
2018.
Oh wow! And I think I saw an article in one of maybe Jiu Jitsu magazine.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
And so yeah, tell me about the experience if you don't mind. And,
oh yeah,
no. And one prelude to our conversation. There's a number of people who are there's two questions that are being asked to me on a regular basis now. So these questions weren't asked prior to the other gentleman that I've interviewed. So as we're going through, here's something to keep in the back of your mind. People, the first question is people want to know, is jiu-jitsu related to potential strokes? Is jiu-jitsu potentially causing these strokes, or is it jiu-jitsu has nothing to do with it? These are just fluke accidents or whatever preconditions of each individual. And then the second question that's coming up is if these jiu-jitsu does have something to do with these chokes causing strokes. What are the types of chokes? We're trying to find what the correlation is. Is it gi? Is it no gi? Is it rear naked choke? Is it gi choke? Is it X choke? Is it baseball back? So those are the questions that we'd like to get answered. So I think your story is definitely going to help shed some light.
Okay. Well, we were doing drills. We were doing triangle drills, and so that was this girl who's real strong, and she has real strong legs. Probably the strongest woman I ever. So we were just drilling. She was a lower level belt, but she's strong. So she had me in a triangle choke, and I was trying to get out of it, and it was like we were practicing. So we weren't going heavy, but she was going heavy. So I had to really struggle to get out of it, so I got out of the choke, and I felt a little, lightheaded, and I was like, I'm okay, just a little lightheaded, and I was trying to tell her, I was like, look, we're drilling, so kind of take it easy. We just trying to learn, make sure you got the right positioning, but when you hit it good, it's kind of like we're not trying to finish it, right? So, which was okay, I didn't mind, it happened a lot of times before. But I started talking to people in the gym, and they was like, yo, man, you look funny. I was like, I feel fine. I just feel a little tired. And I said, I'll go home and take a nap. And they said, no, we're going to call. And then I was living in Vail at the time, which is in a mountain town, which is about an hour and a half drive from Denver. So at the time, they called the ambulance, and it was like May 3rd or something. And ambulance came and said, no, we're going to take you to Vail Health and have you checked out. So I went to the hospital, and they say, take a picture of your face. You see your face? I was like, so I said, oh, God, I look funny, man. My mouth was sort of crooked. And then they did a little brain scan and with some dye, and this massive clot was on the right side. And I was airlifted to Swedish Hospital, which is in Colorado. It's the big, brain injury stroke center. So it's the best neurosurgeons that Colorado has to offer. And so the guy Dr. Ian Kaminsky, the guy who was the main surgeon, he was saying that he was interested in it because because it was jiu-jitsu. And he wanted to, find out more about it himself. And he said, it's probably good because the clot was already in my neck probably before. So the choke just released it. So it could have happened any time. But in jiu-jitsu was probably best because while training, it brought it on so people were able to notice the symptoms of the clot happening, So if I had gone home and gone to sleep, I probably would have been paralyzed or, worse, dead. So,
did you get a shot at TPA?
I did. I got a shot at TPA, and that was probably the thing that, helped a lot. But it was a big clot, so they had a hard time. A surgery which was supposed to take 45 minutes took about 3 hours. So,
what side of the brain was it on?
It was on the right side. Right side of my brain, and I've heard, but I don't think that jiu-jitsu chokes. I think the stroke that people may have is something that's already there. Based on what he was saying, it was there. It just helped induce it, or when the triangle choke let go, all that pressure came back into the vein. And I think the question that you asked about. What kind of chokes? I think it's more blood chokes. Chokes that cut off the blood supply. Geesh. And if it's in your body, if it's below, like in your neck or somewhere, when it releases, it just releases all that stuff into your brain. So it may be a good way to test people, see if they potential strokes, because all the people who had the stroke were probably going to have one eventually anyway. And
that's a possibility. I think. Did the doctor say anything if yours was a potential tear on the carotid artery?
No, it was no tear. I had no tear. I guess some of those. I guess I've heard of that as well. But mine was mostly just clot released into the brain. Yeah. And after that, I just been on blood thinners, and watching out for it because it was hereditary. My father died of a stroke.
Okay.
My mother had a stroke.
Okay.
So it was probably something I was predisposed to happen to me anyway. Eventually.
So do you have any stents in your neck?
No, they didn't do stents. They thought they might do something in the brain because they were looking at the clot, because it was like, well, we'll see if it does again. But they looked at it. The last brain scan I had was probably 3 or 4 months ago, because they wanted me to come in for a year, 6 months, And he looked at it. He was like, man, it looks pretty good. But, they told me to stay away from chokes. Big chokes, So what I do, if someone gets me in a choke, I either, if it gets tight, I'll go ahead and give it to them, or I just don't let people get me in the chokes if I can avoid it. Right?
That's kind of where I'm at as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then during practice, are you if they're practicing chokes, are you going to be letting people put the choke in on you during the practice?
No, I don't let them put it in deep.
Yeah.
I say, get your position right, bam, because I instruct too, so a lot of times when it comes to that, I just have people doing it, and I'll get down and show them, and I say, well, make sure you, especially the triangle choke, just make sure you get your right angle and all this stuff. To complete the choke, or to make sure it's tight. And, if you've been doing jiu-jitsu long enough, and you set your triangle, it's tight.
Yeah.
You'll know if it's tight. You don't have to put a lot of pressure or anything. You go, okay, this is tight. So if I go to squeeze it, it's you're
there.
done.
Yeah. You don't have to rip on the head and hip up every single time.
Right.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. That's how I've been even in training. When I'm going with maybe some lower belts and I trap them in a triangle choke. I hardly even get to the point. I'll just let go and start moving for omoplatas right away, just to.
Right.
I just feel really weird about ripping this on people's necks. Knowing what I've done.
Sure.
So it's interesting that your doctor mentions that the jiu-jitsu may have been the thing that really saved you, making
Yeah.
the clot pop out because you're like you said you're around people. But what's very interesting is that your school, they did the right thing. You were trying to go home and do
Yeah.
and that's what all these guys, and I think you and I, if we had to make a bet with Vegas that said this happened to 90% of the other jiu-jitsu practitioners on earth, knowing what you and I know, our guess is probably everybody's saying the same thing: dehydrated, just a little bit tired,
Right.
just a long day of training. Let me go home and sleep it off. And
Right.
that's the worst thing that you can do because you only have 4 hours to get the TPA. Which, if most people don't know what that is,
Right.
it's a shot that busts up the clot, but you only have 4 hours to do it.
Right.
And so it's very important that they get the person to the hospital not within 2 days, but within those 4 hours. So
Right.
yeah,
Right. That's why I was lucky. Probably you were lucky, and a few other people I probably read about were lucky that they were able. Some weren't so lucky, but were able to really get the help they needed in time.
who were the guys at your gym that really did a good job of identifying right away? Are they in the
Uh,
medical field? How did they know that there was their symptoms?
well, there was one girl that was she was a massage therapist, and I trained with her a lot because she does a lot of privates with me. She's one of my pupils, so she knows me really well. And the girl who put the choke on me, she was like, "Oh, you look funny," And then the head instructor there, Paul Surridge, he was like, "Yeah, I'm saying that." I said, "No, sit down, just relax, so relax for a minute." And they made me. It was a full class tonight. We had about 20 people there, and everybody was just saying, "Man, you just look weird." Just lay down and relax, And they laid me down on the mat and said, "Be calm," And the ambulance came and they said, "Yeah, we're just gonna take you and check you out." And that was, I was so grateful for that,
Yeah,
that they were able to pay that much attention to you, and I think it's a lesson that every dojo should pay attention to the people, in the gym when you work, because it can be a dangerous sport. People get put to sleep and all sorts of things. But what it made me also do is in training, it made me better with technique and not, like you say, don't rip on people as much. And how we roll on the higher level belts, like from purple to black, we roll. If you catch people, you catch and keep flow rolling.
yeah,
Like
right.
we don't try to. Sometimes you roll like you're trying to get into Abu Dhabi, but most people have that. They watch so many videos and stuff, and they think they got to roll crazy. No, man, you need to roll and learn.
Yeah,
And not so much try to kill yourself in a roll. But you can roll for like with 20 people if you roll in, like with 3-4 minute rolls back to back. If you like, just rolling and being calm and breathing and catching and releasing.
catch
That's
and
what we call it.
release. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the position that you feel most comfortable in?
Well,
Where you don't feel like you're gonna get your neck snapped off.
um, I really got better at playing my open guards. Anyway, I'm a very good half guard player, 50-50. My open guard is pretty. And we move my De La Hiva. So when I get my open guard, I feel like I can always keep people off me from getting too close.
Yeah.
If they getting close to my neck, you always frame up and use my feet,
Yeah.
get them in, kick them back out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a
Yeah.
lot of times I just get on top and just keep transitioning through everything. I don't hold any position too long.
Yeah.
Just get it, roll, and just that helps my game,
Yeah.
for one. Because I learned the positions better. I learned how, and I'm able to look for all the actual submissions that instead of just playing one game all the time.
Yeah,
I
right.
learned, yeah.
How long you gonna roll for?
Man, I am 55 last month.
Okay. Happy birthday, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, man. Well, June 27th, yeah. So I plan on going as long as I can. Like I said, I was going to do one more probably. I guess I do a pro fight with the fight to win.
Okay.
Not this one, but the next one, and just kind of retire from competition,
Yeah.
and don't do, and just want to, really teach and do it as a self defense thing, and that way I think my body take less injuries. Because when doing jiu-jitsu, I've had a lot of injuries. Back when I first started, everything was hardcore.
Yeah.
And you just roll when we were crazy.
Yeah. Right.
And so you learn the game better. You learn what you want your game to be. I don't want to be Abu Dhabi. I don't want to be world champion anymore.
Right.
I just want to be a good jiu-jitsu guy.
Right.
And then like if you go to Brazil, there are tons of black belts. I'm not brown belt. I'm not a black belt yet, but there are tons of black belts. And all of them, it's all sorts of black belts.
Yeah. Right.
Just like in karate.
Yeah.
You got black belts that are like Bruce Lee. And you got black belts that are just, they know the technique, they're black belt.
Yeah.
But the average person, you can defend well against someone who doesn't know jiu-jitsu.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is something you're going to do for until you, 70,
Yeah.
75?
Yeah, until I can't roll anymore, until I'm like, my body is like, and another thing, I suffer from rheumatoid arthritis.
Okay.
So, over the years, I played football and so my body's been beat up. But jiu-jitsu has helped me a lot. It slimmed me down. So like a lot of people say, oh, that's like crazy sport, man. That's why you had the stroke. If you tell the average person that, that's what they'll say too.
Right.
They say, oh yeah, doing them chokes, man. Yeah, it's like, well, and then when you learn the science of it, like from the doctors and all that, what's really, because they really wanted to find out what causes a sort of healthy person, for his age and everything, and staying in shape. What caused you to have a stroke? And the doctor, he just, he did all sorts of tests and tested blood like 1,000 times to try to figure out what is it. And I don't have sticky blood. Just had that one blood clot. It was just.
So they don't know.
So no, they don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know. They just told me, be careful. Don't get in too many serious, like blood chokes like that.
Yeah.
And I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's.
And I thought when that first happened, I thought, oh man, that's gonna change jiu-jitsu for me. But no, it didn't. It just made me better made me learn other things better.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's. I at one point I thought it was the end of the world too, and then. Just over time and just even still today, still like, wow, like, I've really become really well at defending chokes, you know what I mean? And just that consciousness of, with the neck. So it's definitely changed my game. I think if you want something enough and you believe in something enough, you'll find a way to adapt. And that's how I feel that I've done, and all of you guys have done a good job. All the guys, and even there's 2 girls now that have.
Wow.
Yeah, there's 2 girls, purple belt. 3 weeks ago, Dwayne just messaged me, and she had a stroke from hers was a tear from the carotid. And then another one, hers was also a tear from the carotid. So
what they say close to the tear? The choke must be real, tight.
Let me read you. She said, "I'm a purple belt who had a dissection and mini stroke in 2016, caused by beans stacked on my neck. It's nice to read about others with a similar experience who continue to practice BJJ. I've gotten a lot of pushback from doctors, families, and friends about the decision to keep training. It's something that continuously worries me, but I just can't imagine giving up completely on jiu-jitsu. It's also nice to see someone spreading awareness. I didn't recognize the symptoms at first, and neither did the EMTs who responded to my initial 911 call. I was lucky, but it could have been much worse. So I really haven't spoken with her too much. other than just that, I shot her a message back, and then there was another gal. Um, and let me grab hers. Uh, and so part of what I'm doing, Dwayne, is documenting all this stuff, so we can try to find that commonality. Um, and go ahead.
I was getting this patch, man. I have a person who makes patches for me, and she's making the patches for stroke survivors. The patches, the ones that you all had designed for, and I'll send them to you, and you can distribute them to people,
Thank you.
whatever.
I appreciate that. That's awesome.
Yes.
So this came in on January 23rd of this year, and she said, "I don't want my name or information shared with anyone, but I read your article online because I recently suffered a stroke after a BJJ incident. I've been training for 7 months, and I love it. It's a passion. One day I was trying to get out of a guillotine choke in a drill, and there was a lot of pressure on one side of my neck. It hurt, and it felt like a muscle strain, but I didn't really think twice about it. The next day I woke up in pain, then more pain, went to the ER, thought because I thought it was a migraine. Long story short, after a month of continuous headache pain, I recently had an MRI that showed that I had a stroke. In the past few days, I've had more MRIs, and I'm seeing specialists tomorrow and moving forward, but this all really took me by surprise. I love training jiu-jitsu. It's changed my life and made me happier, stronger person, but this incident has really been terrifying, and I'm still in the midst of it. I want to return to BJJ, but I'm fully headed. I'm fully scared now. I don't want to be choked, and I don't want any opportunities for further dissection or loss of blood flow to my brain. So those are two females. It's not just it's happening. Guillotines, triangles, X chokes, and triangle chokes. There was another. I did a podcast for jiu-jitsu. It's called Jiu Jitsu Radio, and I said to the two hosts, one of them is a black belt in Florida. I said, "Have you guys ever heard of something like this happening in jiu-jitsu?" And he goes, "You know what? Now that you say that." He goes, about 8 or 9 years ago, I was in at American Top Team in Florida, and one of the guys was rolling. He was in a triangle choke, and he goes, and once the guy let go of the choke, he was basically had the same thing, falling back on the mat, not really able to talk, speak, move, and he had a stroke. He goes, but he may have been on some foreign substances, so maybe some steroids or whatever it was. And they kind of just chalked it up to that. He goes, but now that you're telling me this, it sounds like there's a lot more stories, and I think we need to be aware of this. And really, Dwayne, when I read the Reddit columns, there was just an 18-year-old kid in Brazil that just had a stroke from jiu-jitsu. Yeah. So I'm reading his Reddit and all the comments, and everybody's just brushing it off. This doesn't happen. This doesn't happen. It doesn't happen frequently. But since I started putting my articles out, guys like you and other guys have reached out to me. Oh, I saw the articles. Hey, great to hear. And I'm accumulating it. But I can tell you right now, like, I can't keep up with all the stories. So that's wow. So that's kind of what's going on right now, and I don't think that there's any one size fits all choke. I think these carotids are getting smashed, and some of them are getting dissected. Some of them are forming clots. I think I've done a lot of research, Dwayne, and a lot of dissections apparently are undiagnosed. And so even yours, it's quite possible that you may have had a dissection, you may have had a clot kind of sitting there, because if you think about it, if there is any type of dissection, your artery is going to have to heal itself. How is it going to heal? It's going to form a clot, and then that just like that was with my choke. My choke was the icing on the cake as well. And Dwayne, looking back to like probably the 2 months prior to my massive
Yeah.
stroke, I mean, I was paralyzed. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. So they had to call 911. But 2 months prior to that, I did have. Now looking back, because this is just on my mind all the time. Um,
Right.
I had blurry vision in one eye. That one of my teammates, I did mention to him after practice once that it was kind of weird that I had blurry vision in one eye,
Right.
and it was on my right side, and that went on for about 15 minutes. Now looking back, I probably had a mini stroke at that time after
Well,
practice.
you know what? Now that you say that, I was always known for a person that was real hard to choke.
Yeah,
And so I would let people hold chokes really tight on
yeah,
me,
same
and
here.
without tapping. And say, "Man, he won't tap," And I
Right,
was like, and you think it probably damaged it, like you said, back
right,
a long time ago, and
right.
it just happened to. That was all she wrote. That last choke. It was like, okay, and you're right. So there needs to be an awareness about
Yeah,
people being choked. They need to be really careful about that
right,
because you're doing damage by hitting that carotid really
right.
hard and even if you get out of it, it's better to tap.
Did,
Just
did you
right away.
have, looking back to that, did you have any prior to, within that 2 weeks, any type of flu-like symptoms, or you felt under the
Well,
weather, or
the problem, I had hurt my shoulder, right? So I had a lot of issues with my shoulder. So I didn't know I was having a, stroke. Probably I would have paid more attention to the stroke. I thought everything was because of my shoulder. Like I kept on saying my shoulder's really bad. I was getting PT on my shoulder, and that's why that like you say that could have been happening to me a while. I did notice like my mouth felt funny for days. I felt like I look at myself. It had a little crook, not a big crook to
yeah,
it, but it felt funny.
yes,
And some days I would be at work and I felt like I'd be talking. I was like, man, my speech is kind of. My mouth felt funny, but I didn't think anything about it.
yeah,
So
yeah,
now that you say it,
and
it
it's
was.
yeah, and now that I continue to think about mine, sorry to interrupt, but there was one. See, I had I had once. I had two injuries to my eye from jiu-jitsu. I
Uh
had
huh.
in my right eye, which is the same side of my stroke, and this is way before my stroke. One was it ended up being like a hemorrhage of some sort on the eye. They thought it was a scratch, but it was kind of like just a hemorrhage, and it took like five weeks to heal. Like I was literally bedridden, and then I want to say like 9 months after that, I ended up getting somebody's toe in my eye. Okay, so
Right.
and that caused me to have damage to the eye that I used to have 20/20 vision. So I went and got glasses and whatnot. Anyways, there was a couple times prior where I was looking in the mirror after jiu-jitsu practice, and I noticed that my right eye was drooping, but I just brushed it off to,
Yeah.
man, my droopy eye from that damn accident, man, that droopy eye from
Right.
that damn accident, and then the blurry vision, and then just like you said, the more I continue to do my research, and now I'm starting to do speeches on this, and again, putting all the pet puzzles together and trying to bring awareness. It just keeps bringing awareness to my stories, and Dwayne, it's embarrassing to say that I may have had a couple mini strokes prior to that massive stroke because I was
No,
so young.
that's what I'm saying. I agree with you
Yeah,
100%. When we started talking about it, I think back, I remember the week that it really happened. I noticed I feel I had some weird stuff going on, but I just like,
yeah,
I just feel weird.
yeah,
It's okay. And it was probably in the process of happening, and that just made it happen,
yeah,
to the full extent.
yeah,
But yeah, so you're right, man. There needs to be some awareness about it
yeah,
because just people when they feel a little funny at all, they need to get themselves checked out,
yeah, yeah.
especially when they've been doing chokes.
Well, so that's 100% it. So it's like we almost have to have a responsibility to the people that are practicing the sport that says, you know what, there is now evidence that this is happening. Because of that, there is a way that we can mitigate that, and
Right.
we have to just have it. Hey, chokes are dangerous. I've got training partners who have necks, the size of a chicken. You know what I mean? And
Right.
you know the deal,
Right.
like I had a guy I was rolling with the other day, and he wasn't tapping, but I had his gi so wrapped around the neck. It's like he has such a small neck, I could wrap it around twice. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? And still get the X choke. And it's like I wasn't really squeezing. I was trying to just keep like a nice technical slow,
Yeah.
but he wasn't
Yeah.
choking. And I finally just let go. I'm like, move. I just let the whole thing unravel and just go because there's no point. I don't need to. That's all I can just feel those carotids just getting smashed, and
Yeah. Right.
that
Right.
I think we all have that responsibility to say, oh wow, and some people will say, well, he's just being stubborn. Well, maybe he is being stubborn. Fair enough. It's still my responsibility to move on.
Right. To let people know, hey man, with chokes, be careful because they're very dangerous.
We have to.
Very dangerous, like you said. And you probably are doing damage to your carotid by getting choked too much,
I think,
or let your choke, set in too deep on you.
And that's exactly what I think was my problem as well. And it sounds like that may have been, you were the guy at the gym just like me. I'll hold out, and because we didn't think that this could happen to us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, man, it's so true. And I think it's a good thing you started this because maybe it'd be a bigger movement where people start going and talking to gyms and tell them, hey, guys, be careful, be aware of this.
Yeah.
Because it's happening to quite a few people, and it's such a new. Well, it's not a new sport now, but it's so big all of a sudden. And it's really been nothing. And it's probably the only martial art that you really practice and really live like this.
Right.
With karate, you don't. You put your gear on and you don't really go full on.
Right.
Like killing people. But in jiu-jitsu, you go full on.
You are.
And so you have, let's say, you training 3 times a week. That's and getting choked that many times. As if even if you don't no tap, but just getting a choke in, getting out of it, can't be too good for you.
No.
Over the long haul.
I think guys like us having this discussion it's gonna come up, and I did have a doctor. So here's another article. So just on that, this came in on June 19th. He goes, "Hi Chris, I'm a BJJ newbie that's emailing you with a question in response to your very illuminating series of posts which you wrote on Medium regarding BJJ and stroke. Thank you for writing all this. It's been incredibly informative. I'm an ER doc, and I've been doing jiu-jitsu for about a month. I really like it. After I got guillotined for the first time, I became concerned about the risk of BJJ, of injury from BJJ. It seemed pretty logical that you could get a carotid artery dissection from this sport based on the strength of this choke / ways that you fall. I did some research on this and came to your series of posts. I have 2 questions I was hoping I could ask you. Number 1, based on your stories you gathered, does it seem like the major damage is being done by holding out too long during the choke? Or have you heard stories where it's happening during even mild chokes? I am assuming this is happening in the later instance. There must have been some significant pre-neck injury that led to the dissection, and I think he's exactly right. Again, it's not the mild ones. It's just over time, and then boom, that's causing the stroke. And then he said, number 2, for a person that's just starting to spar, what should I be doing or saying to my training partners to lower the risk? I'm thinking that the best thing to do is just telling your training partner to go easy on the neck and you should tap out early to any major choke. And I think
Right.
that's one thing for sure. I think tapping is of course one thing. The other thing is just really I'd probably be focusing on really my defense. Asking questions in class about defense, how to defend the choke, doing private lessons with the teacher, as much choke defense as you can do. What do you think?
No, I agree. I think that because most new white belts, any submission they get on you, any newbie, or they gonna even if it's wrong, they're gonna go for broke.
Yeah, right.
So I think it has to be awareness to the new people coming in, maybe trying to control also the way they roll.
Yeah.
Or just teaching them defenses first before you even teach them, an attack. Make sure it may be a new way to teach. I think you have to change because they come in and of course they get tapped out and stuff, and they were like, "Wow, I want to do this too." But I can't remember when I started out. That's what I didn't learn any submissions. I just was learning defenses, and then when I got choked a few times, and I was always never would tap though. I would always get it off. I might get feel like a lot of pressure and I get out of it, but I should have probably tapped or not let myself get that deep into the position. But to answer your question, yeah, I think the more awareness people will have of the danger of chokes, these chokes are dangerous, and maybe they shouldn't let people really get into them good till they get a few strikes in or something, white. But when the game is kind of calmed down and they kind of have an awareness of what BJJ is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's the conversation. I think that's where we're going. So, having our discussion definitely helps get this ball rolling, Dwayne. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for calling.
Yep.
I keep following it because I think it's good to be aware of it, and to keep people aware. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna have this video posted pretty quick. So once it's all set, I'll give it to you, and if you can go ahead and fire it off to your community and have them share it. Yeah.
All right, man.
All right, brother. Thank you. Blessings to you. Thank you so much,
man. You too, man.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good
brother.
night.
Yeah, you too. Right. Thank you.
I'll keep you posted on the patches. Okay.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Right.
I appreciate it.
Later.